Hello, I'm Colin.
And I'm John.
How are you both doing today?
Feeling a wee bit lethargic today, mate.
Aye.
Just no
Very
lack of
tired.
energy. Yeah.
It's like dealing with the highs and lows of the weekend, or just the highs this weekend, really, isn't it?
Well, that's helped. That's perked me up a bit.
Aye.
Legal highs or Class A's call?
Always legal. Always
Always
legal.
legal.
Boring.
This is recorded, mate.
Fucking boo.
It is recorded, aye. That's it. You never know who's watching, aye. So stick to the legal highs. John, how are you doing?
Well, I think a little bit like you. I don't know if I sound a wee bit croaky or a wee bit hoarse, but I wouldn't call it struggling, but I've had a bit of a phlegmy, mucousy throat. And as I was saying to you, like the bairns have been chundering
Aye.
alternatingly over the last week, so it's in the post for me. So I'm just preparing myself. I'm all
Aye.
right though. I'm all right.
I've been feeling under the weather for a few days. I said it on when we did the preview show on Friday. I made it to the game, but we obviously we had a chance to. There was a wee event on at the visitor centre down Easter Road on Saturday morning that we got an invite down to. And I basically was like, maybe I can make that too. I wasn't feeling well enough to go down to that, so I had to kind of pass that one by for it.
I
But
took I took the hit, boys. I didn't want to pass on that sick bug to you all.
nice one. Chris is already on the YouTube. Chris, we tried to get on a bit more timely for you the day after the row you gave us on Friday, so we were as close to 8 as we could be. Chris says, evening gents, brilliant performance yesterday. Dan Barlasser, magical. And Jay Star said, delighted for Bowie, and hopefully we keep Barlasser just getting better by the game. Well, we get stuck into the game, so what we'll cover tonight is we will look at the game, obviously, on Saturday. A really good performance, 2-0 win. Maybe the last 10, 15 minutes took the shine off the game a wee bit, but I think we can live with that. And we've got Motherwell on Tuesday, so we'll maybe spend a wee bit of time at the back end of the episode looking at that. If you've got any comments on the game, we've got loads of talking points to Twitter to cover, but fire them into the YouTube comments as well, and we'll cover them as we go. But let's start with the team lineup. It was the same lineup that started against St Mirren as we thought it probably would be. Colin, were you surprised to see that at all?
No. I mean, that was, I think, the team you picked on Friday. And the only change I had was Cleege, I think, to start ahead of Boyle. But, so no really. I think we're kind of starting to answer the questions about it doesn't know his strongest 11.
And Joe Newell returned to the bench. Was that a nice surprise for you?
I was delighted because I got to send the wee tweet that I was talking about for Ace Ventura. A wee bit disappointed not to see him come on in the second half, but it was good to see him knocking the ball about during the halftime interval.
Wonder why they didn't bring him on, eh?
I think probably just on how the game was going.
Hmm.
I think it was good to have him in the squad, but if we didn't have to play him, we obviously didn't want to risk him. It was good to get a wee rendition of Super Joe, Jojo Super Joe. Although still have the temptation to finish that with Tortolano rather than Joe whenever I hear it, which just is, I suppose, indicative of the
Your
age. Ronnie said, hi bangers, great to have a Hy-Vee win to talk about, sets up the game on Tuesday nicely. And John McGlynn said, Class H highs this weekend. Great to see Bowie back on the score sheet after heading over the bar earlier. I thought he was going to have another one of those games. Dan said, good evening, Cuntos. Superb result. Ooh, Jamie McGrath. All we hear is Radio Leskinen. Superb, or Keskinen, it should be. He corrected himself. Kieran said Barlas is number one fan here. Green Tea said, evening all, thought Josh Mulligan had another excellent game. He did indeed. We'll cover that in a wee minute. And J Star said, yesterday's 11. Do we think if available, Gray sees that as his best 11? So let's start then, Colin. You mentioned it. Like we're starting to see it. Is that your view then? Do you think if everybody's fit and available, that is the starting 11?
Yeah, at the moment, I mean, if everybody's fit and available, Joe Newell might push for it, but I think the way Barlasser's playing, I know he's been a wee bit in and out, but he's probably had more good games than he's had quiet games. And I nearly said bad games. It's no bad games. We've not seen him have the impact in a couple of games. Like I think the Hearts game and was it Rangers? Maybe the proper big ones, I suppose. He seems to dominate these games quite efficiently though. Motherwell, we played them. That's the next one, eh?
Yeah,
Livingston, a couple of times. Livingston, Dundee, St Mirren. You know those kind of games. He's definitely doing that job that I've been shouting for ages. You know, like that Callum McGregor type. For a couple of years ago, that's the longest we've been talking about it. You know, somebody can dictate the pace of a game, get it moving, and decide decide how many we're going to win by.
John, I suppose the couple of players that spring to mind when you're talking about the starting 11 that never featured from the start on Saturday would be Clegy and Chaiwa. Do you think they could feel aggrieved in not having starting spots? I mean, I know Chaiwa had food poisoning on international duty, and Gray mentioned that he wasn't quite fit enough to play, so he never made the team. But do you think those two, if they're fit, they should be knocking on the door for a starting spot?
I don't know. Like, it's a really good question. I was thinking about some of the things that Colin was talking about there. So, like the starting 11, I think you can make the case that this is the strongest starting 11. However, I wonder if we're also in a good position to just have players kind of slot in and out. Because I feel like we were in that area before, and I don't know if we started to maybe deviate or like after the European games, like things started to just kind of like lose their fluidity.
Mm-hmm.
So like yesterday's starting 11, for example, Martin Boyle partnering Kieran Bowie or Bowie.
Both.
Cliche could play there. He could just as easily slot in. But I think maybe the opposite argument to that is that I think when he played up front before, we tended to go long quite often, like be quite direct with it, which wasn't terrible in itself. But then we found ourselves in, say, like the Rangers game where it was almost like, well, we're going to hit it long. We didn't really have much more of an idea. But I think at that point, like there was a few players, so like Chris Cannon, who we talked about with the stomach bug, so that that kind of interrupted the fluency of the game. But I was also thinking about Barlaser and how I think the point has been made a couple of times now that in not just in this podcast, but like some of the comments I've seen from other supporters, that he does well in games where Hibs dominate the ball. But I wonder if in the bigger games, like that Colin mentioned there, so like Hearts, Rangers, Celtic, for example, are we comparing apples with apples? Was it like so yesterday's team that played well, like the strongest starting 11?
Mm-hmm.
Is that this? Although it was the same starting 11, I think in the Rangers game was I think McGrath's dropped maybe a little bit deeper, and how much does that impact Barlaser's performance? Like how much does that allow him just kind of like freedom to roam and pick out passes, etc.?
I thought that it's a really good point, John, because I thought yesterday I kind of kept a wee eye on McGrath and the positions he was picking up. Actually, the three midfielders, McGrath, Mulligan, and Barlaser, they picked up wee pockets of space all throughout, and some of the wee interplay between the three of them was brilliant. Whether it was like kind of close passing, and then it fought to Barlaser and he'd ping it out wide to Nadin or Cadden, depending on who was there. They worked really well, but I think they managed to create that space because McGrath did come a bit deeper, and I think you're spot on with that observation that how McGrath's playing is helping bring out more from Barlaser.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess what I would say to that is that I'd be keen to see Barlaser in those games and how he performs, how after that small tweak that we seem to have made.
Mm-hmm. What was interesting when I looked at the bench yesterday, I was like, that's a really, really strong looking bench. I think the only player that I thought you weren't sure about is, and just because we were seeing as much of him, was Megwa, really on the bench, like the youth player that was on there. And ironically, he came on and he's only on for a few minutes, did fine. And but although I thought that when we actually made the subs in the game, I thought we dropped right out the game. It totally changed how the rhythm of the game was going. Colin, I'll talk to you about the first half. What did you make of the first half of the game?
I thought they were dominant. Like, didn't they look? They went up the park a couple of times. Hanley got booked for one, but other than that, I can't remember many times they crossed into our half.
Mm-hmm.
We had various chances, but we missed a couple. But dominant completely. It was only 1-0, wasn't it? But it was like pretty dominant 1-0, like the first game up there, where it was almost like we were going. Apart from this time, they looked like they tried a bit more. Up there, I think we said they didn't try, but it was a dominant 1-0 half-time win. Very good to see Bowie getting a goal again. Can I just come back to the point about the team, though? We're saying his strongest 11.
Aye.
There's about 4 players, right? 5 players that could come in and it wouldn't weaken it.
Aye.
Right, so you've got a beater can come in, Newell probably, Chaiwa and Cliche.
Mm-hmm.
and O'Hara that Nearest mentioned. Any of them could come in. That's half the team we've got
falls
sitting
into
on.
that bracket as well, to be fair.
Yeah, yeah. So you've got that. Like that's the strength that we've got with the squad. So we've a lot to talk about strongest 11s and that, but you could flick one or two of them in, and it could still look like your strongest 11.
Aye. John Colley mentioned Kieran Bowie, so he missed a couple of chances before he got the goal. What did you think of his first half?
Me, sorry, just give me.
John, yeah, sorry.
I was actually a wee bit concerned after the first couple because I've watched the replay since, obviously, but his first chance I think was a cutback for Martin Boyle, and I don't know whether he's felt the pressure of the defender breathing down his neck, but he's kind of fluffed it. I actually thought maybe at the time that if it was maybe another Hibs player who'd like try to take it off his toe and it just kind of gone awry.
Is he left-footed?
But then,
sorry, John, is he left-footed? Because that was on his right foot, and he did look like he snatched that a wee bit. His goal was on his left, wasn't it?
I think he's left-footed, yeah.
So it's maybe and I hate giving that as an excuse because I think it's a fucking shite excuse for a professional footballer, like that they can't kick the ball with both feet. And I'm not saying he can't, right? Because I'm sure I've seen him kick it with his right, but I think he's predominantly left. And you know what it's like, you're a wee bit more awkward on your weaker side, aren't you?
I think he's definitely stronger on his left when you think to like the goal that he scored against Dundee United last season, his wonder goal in Europe.
Yeah, they're all left-footed.
And then yesterday. Oh yeah, I was starting to get a wee bit concerned because I think the way that Bowie's been playing recently, he was starting to look like the player that really, really needed a goal. And the longer that continued, I think the longer it was going to get that he was going to snatch at stuff, that it was going to start to play in his mind a wee bit more. So after he's missed his header, I felt like he almost like punished himself and chucked himself into the nets, like the old cargo nets on Gladiators back in the day. But then he scores the goal, and actually, I think the goal that he scored, the cross from Nicky Cadden wasn't as good as the deliveries for the other two, but he's made more of it. Like he's taken the really good touch to take it away for the defender, and he's just slammed it through the keeper's legs. And I think you could see in the celebration afterwards how much a relief it was for him, but also the reception that he got for the other Hibs players. And I wonder if I'm curious about the camaraderie and the team spirit because Hibs have talked about it quite a few times, and players at Hibs have talked about it a few times. Like I wonder if the other players knew that the goal was going to come from, and for Bowie it was thank fuck for that.
Aye, I think I had that look about it because they all looked delighted for him when he scored. Colin, it's good to see. Like, obviously, it's not good to see a striker missing the chances, but it's good to see Bowie getting into the position to miss them because that's the important thing with a striker, isn't it? Is like everybody counts the goals, but they didn't get the goals if they're not there to take the chances. And what we're seeing for Bowie now is he's getting into the positions to miss the chances a bit more, and that's a positive, isn't it?
Aye, it was keeping going there because his confidence. But I think, as John says, like you've seen the relief when he scored, so I think it was starting to play on his mind, and then that can be a wee bit like, well, you might go into your shell a bit and maybe not make that run or hide a wee bit more. But yeah, clearly isn't he? And hopefully that goal takes the weight off and he goes on a wee run now.
How John? How high up in the ranking of performances this season would you put that first half for Hibs?
That's a great question. 12 out of 15. I don't know. It was good. Like I had no concerns. It's quite refreshing, but it's almost like a wee bit mundane when Hibs just turn up because you're kind of like, well, this is quite nice. This is quite pleasant. Because I think I described it on the Friday night. I could just sit back. You know, I've got my beanie on. I've got the big coat on. Can just relax. It's nice and cozy watching the football. No, it was good.
There's a wee laddie that sits next to me. Leo, his name is. A nice wee laddie. He's of their Hungry Wee Bastards shout.
I was going to say, is the sweary one, is
it? Aye. He turned to me about 10 minutes in and says, "This is boring as fuck." And I said, "It's no like." I was like, "It's no, we've been playing well. Like we're playing some nice stuff." And then when we got the goal, he was like, "Finally about time." And then he was happy for the rest of the game. But just when you saying there, John, about that sort of mundane. Colin, one of the features, like the run we went on last season, and it's actually, I think, been a feature of David Gray's teams overall, is we seem quite good when we find our groove at just kind of dominating a game, controlling a game. And Saturday was like another really good example of that. That sort of performance is this us kind of hitting the heights that we hit last season now, do you think?
I think it's starting to look a bit more like that. They've got good players there, but now they're actually showing it. Like, how many times have I said this season, I know McGrath's a good player, but I want to see more from him. But the last 2-3 weeks, but including the break, but the last few games, he's definitely starting to show it, and that's obviously proven by the amount of A's that John's adding to the end of his name.
How many more A's and McGrath do you need?
I think we'll be limited by the number of characters you can get in a tweet, John. I think at some point it's going to hit that stage, isn't it?
I never really thought it through. I think when we talked about it, it was tongue in cheek, but actually it's become a reasonable indicator of how well he's doing. And don't get me wrong, like it's not properly taken seriously. Like, I'm trying to limit it to, he has a good game, he has a bad game, he misses a penalty, he scores a goal, it's a plus or a negative. But overall, and I did it, and the reason when I wrote the thread for it recently, I did actually go back through all the previous games and try to judge it, like, has he been booked, has he, all that sort of stuff. But I think on the balance of things, like, he is actually contributing to the Hibs side, but doing it quite quietly. Like, he's not doing it in a flash way. He's just popping up with a goal here and there.
Hitting the bar always looks spectacular. Sometimes it looks better than a goal. I think yesterday the goal would have been better, right? Because it was gone top corner. But sometimes, like, when it rattles the crossbar, you go, oh.
That's the ooze, the ahs.
Aye. They didn't get an E for that.
Nah, no, for hitting the bar. Nah, you need to score it.
Hang on. Is my metric? If he hadn't scored, he'd have got an A.
Right, I've got a question for you both to think about, right? So, but before, so I'm going to ask you the question now to think about it. Then, John, I'm going to get you to summarise the second half while you have a think about it, right? But one of the questions Josh asked me yesterday was, how does our midfield this season compare to last season's? Obviously we had that the third place finished, a good run. We strengthened or we signed for the midfield in the summer. So if we were doing a sort of comparison, are we in a stronger position now with our midfield than we were last season or not? But before you answer that, John, go and talk me through the second half of the game.
Do you know what? I'm going to give a wee bit of credit to Leon Rasputin, because the way that he described the second half yesterday, particularly, I want to say maybe for like the 60th minute onwards, he said that we were constantly trying different keys. To, like, obviously the implication was that we were trying to unlock something. So the way my interpretation of that was that, like, Dundee, I think certainly after the Hibs had made the substitutions, like, they had a couple of opportunities. So there was a little bit of pressure there, but my recollection of it was for most of the second half, we were pressurising Dundee in their half. But it wasn't a case of, right, well, we're forward, we're running out of ideas. We were able to kind of keep moving things and recycling the ball and trying a different key. All right, that didn't work, and keep going and keep going. And what was refreshing about that is, and I think especially with the first half, so we mentioned that we'd had a few opportunities, but we hadn't scored them. It never seemed to fluster us. We just kind of kept going, worked the ball, made the opportunities, scored the goals. So the second half was good as well. And I think what probably made the second half more, I'm not going to say it was more impressive, equally as impressive as the first, was the two saves that Salinger made. Like, just how important they were. Because I think the first one, I didn't appreciate the second save that he made as much until I saw it in the replay, and I went, holy fuck, like, he's got a touch on that to put it over the bar. But the first one, like, my vantage point of it, the ball's come over, Chrissy Cadden's been there, and I thought initially that Salinger's been unsighted, but he's managed to kind of, like, react to it quickly. Like, I think he's had, I don't know, milliseconds more. But it's still been an equally impressive stop to kind of almost like claw it out from behind the goal line. And actually Leon again had said, what was he said about Salinger? I just like him. And it's strange because I just like him. Like, he's like, I'm not sure how to explain it. I just like him. And it's not, obviously, it's not it's not a criticism of Jordan Smith. But I wondered about this point afterwards when you had that third intervention when he's come running off his line and he's made Danda shite himself. Because he just like, and actually when we were talking about Joe Newell and hair and charisma on Friday, it made me think like, is there something about Salinger? Is there something about Hibs players that we currently have? And that maybe ties into the point about the Hibs midfield that Josh asked before. Like, is there something that we have now in the team that we were missing last year, albeit last year's team was good? Is it something that's kind of hard to pinpoint? Is it something that's not quite tangible, but players have?
Sure, there's a French phrase for it, je ne sais quoi.
Je ne sais quoi.
If we're talking about Leon Rumpelstiltskin, we might as well bring a bit of French into it. Colin, the midfield then, better or worse than last season's? What are your thoughts?
I think so. It's still probably early to say because the midfield was strong last. It was good last season, and people have been talking about shaped holes and all that like since the summer. But I think on paper and now starting to see on the pitch, it's better. So I think we've got Barlaser, Mulligan, and McGrath is probably the first pick, but you've got Chaiwa as backup, and Joe Newell as back, and Levitt. Right? Whereas what was last season, Levitt, Triantis, and Campbell was probably the first pick. So I think, like individually, McGrath's an upgrade on Campbell. I think different brings different stuff, right? But I think Mulligan, since he's hadn't that wee run in midfield, because I think he's been chopped about a bit, and I think that's maybe been a bit unfair on him. Looking with hindsight, I was fine with us finding his best position because he's obviously played both. But I think the last wee while we've seen that centre mid is his best position. Or he brings more to the team there. He's driving, runs forward, and he covers he's up and down. Where Barlas is maybe a bit deeper, pinging passes, Mulligan's up and down, and McGrath brings that. So it's a good balance with the three of them. So I think this season's a long way to answer it.
Okay, John, where do you stand on it?
It's a great question, and I don't know. I don't know how you could ever definitively answer it. And that's maybe the beauty of the question as well, because everyone's going to debate it. I think the three players are obviously different, but I think the qualities that Colin alluded to there are different, or their attributes. I don't know. Like, I'd be amazed if Hibs, and incredibly delighted if Hibs were to go on a 17-game unbeaten run again with that midfield three. Like, I think the only way that you could maybe say that this midfield, or sorry, the five, if you wanted to call them that, are better, is if the team surpasses that 17-game unbeaten run, or if they go on to win silverware. But I think like early signs currently, now that they've started to find their groove, I think I'm excited about the potential of it compared to last season, because last season was a known quantity. This season is still a little bit unknown, but it's got like those tiny shoots of something growing there.
I have to say, like, I know Green Tea called out Josh Mulligan, and I think Mulligan probably was the one that was least recognised yesterday for praise coming out of the game. Everybody was talking about Barlaser and McGrath, but I love watching Josh Mulligan. I think he's a cracking
His
young
energy,
player.
isn't it?
Aye, and his decision making is tremendous. See them like it doesn't always execute it perfectly. Like there was he kind of chucked a cross in late yesterday that it was just a pure cross. I think it went right behind for a goal kick, but it was absolutely the right thing to try. And I think loads of the times you see him, he pops up in good positions and invariably takes the right option. I think he's a really, really good player. I'm excited to see how he develops with us for sure. And we're talking about midfielders. Obviously, you got Levitt that came back from illness yesterday. And when we talk about Levitt, you have to give Joe Capaldi. We mentioned it's his birthday today, so happy birthday, Joe. Glebe 1875 said, excellent results, superb performances all over the pitch, loads of top performers, Barlaser and McGrath. Excellent. Kieran said McGrath, Barlaser and Mulligan. Perfect three for us. Great news for the squad, forcing Chaiwa, Levitt and all the rest to up their levels. Vince said, boys, Celtic looked bang average last night and I heard a loud balloon pop this afternoon. This team could go very close this season. I have to say, John, you mentioned like a 17-game unbeaten run. It's no easy to put together a 17-game unbeaten run, as other teams find out.
No,
everybody can do it. Salinger has been mentioned already. John, you talked about he's had two. Were they as good as world-class saves, Colin, that he made in the second half?
I don't know. I don't know how you define. Depends on the definition. They were really good saves. I thought the second one was better than the first one. They're both really good saves, though. Like point blank, weren't they? I'm trying to remember. The second one was the header, wasn't it? And he was on the goal line and he just sort of flashed his arms. Proper reactions, point blank stuff. I think that was a great save. At first viewing, it's hard to actually know. Like, how did he miss that? Did he save that? He did save it because he's celebrating it. You know what I mean? You see the replay and you go, fucking did save it. It's great to have a keeper making saves like that, eh? And that's no a harsh on. Like, I'm just saying, like, how many years have we suffered with goalies over the last 20, 30 years? No counting last season. Don't think I'm hard, because I know there's people still Jordan Smith fans that I've not been, so I'm not criticising them for liking him.
John, what did you make of Salinger's performance?
Just calm, composed. Like I talked about it a few weeks ago. I sort of asked the question about the influence of Salinger and Hanley at the back and whether they were a bit calmer in the middle than, say, Bushiri and Smith. And again, like, it wasn't it's different attributes, not different qualities. And like there was a lot of stuff made before the game. I think the Observer had mentioned something about his contribution in like the previous 8 games. I don't think it was 8 clean sheets. I forget exactly what it was that they'd described, but yesterday, clean sheet again. And I think in a game like yesterday, you might go, oh, well, like maybe, they were playing second bottom of the league. Maybe Dundee didn't have much of the ball, didn't have many efforts. But actually, there's three chances there that they could have scored from, and he's been more than equal to them.
And it has that sort of calmness and that presence. I think the Observer article, from memory, I think he had them as like, and this may be the next thing to talk about, as one of the top goalkeepers in the league. Pie and Bovril, I think it was, shared the form guide. So top 6 or last 6 games, we're sitting second in that, behind Rangers, a point behind over the last 6 games. I think if you look at the XG table, Hibs would be top if games had panned out on the XG for and against. Are we starting to see these sort of the objective measures now, Colin, sort of pointing to the fact that we could be in for quite a good season?
So this is what happened last year, isn't it? We sat and went, we're not that bad. Look, we're creating chances, we're just not taking them. And we've been like that. And to be honest, we've won the last couple of games. We've won this, especially yesterday. Felt like it could have been a lot more.
Aye.
Based on especially the Bowie header. Like, how's he not scored? You know what I mean? But there's other chances hitting bars and stuff. And so we could easily be scoring more goals. But you know what? 2-0 comfortable win. I'm quite happy with.
Hang on. Did you know, see when we beat Livy 4-0, were you saying, aye, but it could have been 8?
Aye, and I will say that it could have been more. It could have been more yesterday as well. But like, if we're winning comfortably, I'm happy. We're not sitting there biting our nails at 2-1 down, going, fucking hell, it's coming. Oh, here we go again. The usual shite that we all start saying, that other teams say about us, and that we say it ourselves. We're not in that position, and that's where we were from December last year, really. Although we probably didn't get comfortable with it till about February, and then we were all like comfortable home wins. Every time we went to Easter Road.
The mad thing about that form guide is it had McGrath scored his penalty against Rangers, and we've got a point for that. We'd actually be clear top.
Yeah, John, that's probably a minus. That's
I was going to spell. I've already taken one off him for missing the penalty. Did I take another one off him because we're not top of the form guide?
It's a big impact, isn't it?
Well, I could probably even out by giving him a +1 for hitting the bar.
No, it's off target.
Dan said Barlaser was excellent on Saturday, and J-Star said Celtic were shocking last night. If we go for it, they're very beatable.
And they've got a European game midweek.
Aye, they have. Celtic were awful. I watched that game last night, and I think they got a shot on target until McGregor scored right at the death. And he was talking about the last couple of seconds of the game when he scored. Definitely, I tweeted just I hope they're as bad as this when we played. I'm giving St Mirren some credit for it as well. Like St Mirren played their part in that game. Folk always forget that.
Robinson doesn't understand what offside is.
And they obviously didn't understand. The thing, like, you could be unlucky that decisions go against you, but if they're the right decisions, it's not
unlucky.
Aye, it's just you just have to deal with it. So maybe just try being offside a little bit less. That would be my advice to.
Why are
St
you
Mirren.
trying to pick fights with St Mirren and their fans?
Just because the Robinson thing annoyed me when I saw it. I was like, fuck, like teams are like Livingston at the weekend, genuinely hard done by. Right, that they should have had a penalty against Rangers, and you go fucking right, moan, and you'd support them moaning about it. You go, fair enough. But see, when teams are like, it's the right decision. Mind Rangers moaned that they never got a penalty against Celtic when the cup was offside.
Right.
Like, shut up. It's no penalty anyway. You were offside. Didn't make a fucking big deal about something that's no big deal. St Mirren, they had, right, so the one against Hearts, they're right to feel aggrieved about that because that should have been a goal. That was a
But they're
bad
trying to
decision.
build it up by using correct ones
Aye,
against.
but you can't chuck correct ones into it. What you have to do there is go, fair enough, the officials got that right, and stop making it out like it's a fucking officials problem.
Two wrongs didn't make it right, did they?
Aye. So
All right, Dad.
I'm not picking a fight with St Mirren. I just think, kid, there's justified fights and there's other ones that you're going, well, you're in the wrong there, and they're in the wrong on that end. So fuck them.
Fucking hell. Just asked a question, got a lecture.
Well, I'll teach you. Dan Barlaser, right? Let's talk a bit about him. He's out of contract this season. We've got a chance to look at him over the rest of this season. Colin, I know you'll be like, too early to say. We didn't need to make a decision.
And I did the
now.
last time you asked me.
Aye. So I'm not going to ask that question specifically, right? But one of the criticisms that we saw of him earlier was it was like, safe passes, but the Observer put out his pass. It was called a pass sonar earlier on. A fascinating graphic, right? So they divided the pitch up into however many. You got that look, John, because I said the word fascinating in relation to it.
No. It was the use of sonar. I'm like, should it be sonar or should it be radar? But I don't know.
Anyway, right, they split the pitch up, and what they do is in each area of the pitch where he's made passes, they show the distance and the direction of the pass. And the overwhelming majority of his passes, wherever he was on the pitch, were forward, and the overwhelming majority of them were completed as well. A really sort of strong indicator of why he was such an important player for us on Saturday, and why his performance was so notable. But also maybe kind of dispels a wee bit of that. He just plays the safe pass or just goes sideways with it. I think he was very much in a part of our attack and play on Saturday. John, Colin will not commit to it, but would you be looking to sign Barlaser in a pre-contract?
Fuck it, why no? Nah, on a serious point, no, I'll do my Frank Lampard thing. I was thinking about this at the game actually when Joe Neal came on. So we've talked about different players, we've talked about different attributes and what have you. I think Barlaser does quite well in that deep line playmaker role that I think Joe Neal can maybe play. I think Barlaser does it a little bit better, and I wonder if maybe with, say, Joe Neal's injury, not actually entirely sure how old Barlaser is, but he could be a long-term successor to Joe Neal. And I think when we talked about Hibs and potentially signing Barlaser previously, I'd said that the recruitment team would be looking at that kind of thing. Like they brought him in for a reason to begin with. And if he continues to perform, then it would presumably be a bit of a no-brainer for him if he sits in that midfield and continues to contribute the way that he does. But the difference will be, of course, I think well, I was going to say that the difference would be like the bigger games that Colin referenced before, like Rangers, Celtic, Hearts, for example.
He's 29 in January.
But does it have to be? Like, if he doesn't perform in those games, like he still performs against 75% of the league?
Aye, but then we need somebody to perform in the games as well. He's 29 in January, by the way, so Newell's 33 next year, so there's 4 years between them.
So I'm not going to say like long-term successor, like short to medium-term successor to Joe Neal.
Aye.
And I guess we might see him influence those games more, the more game time he has as well, which I think is the other thing to bear in mind. You know, like he's come in, he's sort of picked up and come into the first team and he's getting used to Scottish football, etc., and that sort of level of opponent. So
interesting to see how much he's learned on Sunday. Like we've still got Tuesday, we're skipping Tuesday's game out, but obviously next Sunday, Celtic, we expect him to go to Motherwell and be good. And then, although Motherwell's a high possession team, aren't they? Like what I've read, I've not obviously not seen them this season because we've not played them yet. But for what I've read about them, they're one of these teams that try and knock it about a bit. But next Sunday, we'll see what Barlaser's got or what he's learned playing against Rangers and Hearts. And I don't know if he played Celtic the last time. Probably
How
did.
much do you think Hibs' recent improvement has been down to just something as simple as the players have had more game time together? Like
I
just the
think
number of appearances alongside each other.
I think that's definitely a factor. I think you look at a couple of things. It's a Hanley coming in and having a stick on starting point spot. I think has made a big difference. I think he's settled the back line. Salinger coming in has settled it, and I think Barlaser is more impactful than Levitt. I think
But we've
that's
got
made
Nicky Cadden in the team now as well, right?
aye.
And he's getting more crosses in, but also Barlaser's getting the bottom earlier and in space, like we've seen a few times yesterday. And I think we had loads of crosses. I think it was on a Watch Sports scene. They said the number, how many crosses we got. I think it was Neil McCann might have said it in part of his analysis after it, and it was 20 or 30 crosses or something. So the more crosses you get in, the more get in the mixer sort of chances you're going to get, I guess.
Expected mixer metric.
It's not just getting it in the mixer with Nicky Cadden crosses, because he's trying to pick somebody out. He's not just aiming it into the mixer. Like he's aiming. He's got a cross that can actually pick somebody out. As we've seen numerous times last season with Gale and that, getting on the end, standing unmarked for headers and that.
Aye.
So it's not quite a get in the mixer style cross, I don't think.
Was yesterday for Nicky Cadden, was that how do I put this? Was that him? Was that an indication of him getting back to his best? Because I thought he had a pretty good game, and I sort of glossed over his contribution in Hibs' opening goal yesterday because I said that it wasn't as good a delivery as it was before. But actually, the build up to it, the way that he wriggled away from his marker and got the ball in, reminded me a wee bit of Martin Boyle actually, like the sort of low centre of gravity, the wee spin. He sort of dropped the shoulder, went one way, came the other.
I thought he had a really good game, but I thought he was good against St Mirren as well. I think again, I think we're quick to So I'm going to say quick to criticise players, but build that criticism into writing them off. And I say what we talk about as a fan base. I think we try not to do that so much on the podcast. I don't think Nicky Cadden's ever been a bad player, but I think he's not been as effective, and I think he's now starting to kind of put a bit of a run of games together because he's getting a wee bit of run of games to start showing what he's capable of. But the same thing happened last season when he never came into the team right away last season and started pinging in fantastic crosses, and everybody going, "Fucking hell, Ken Nicky Cadden, what player?" It took him a few games to get up to that level.
Did he come in at the start of last season? Did he have a wee injury setback?
I think so.
And then at the
he
end
did.
of the season, he had his hamstring, and I wonder if he's maybe starting to develop, not develop it, but starting to feel a wee bit more comfortable in himself physically and what he's capable of.
I think there's an element of that in it, definitely. But I think that there's, to go back to your question, I think there's a combination of things where we've brought in quite a few new players, and what we're seeing now is David Gray's way of playing. You recognise it for how we finished last season. Like the team plays in a very sort of deliberate style of play. I think we're seeing more of that now than we did earlier in the season, and that comes with players getting used to what he's asking them to do as much as anything. And I think that's like another factor in why we're doing better.
It's almost like we just need a little bit of time.
Patience, John.
Yeah.
It's like if we didn't worry about teams winning the
Didn't
league in October.
Didn't dive in too early.
Aye. Alan Anderson said, delighted with the performance. Salinger was incredible. Defence was solid. Midfield were great. Manuel coming back to the bench is unreal. If we get a result on Tuesday, we beat Celtic. Rob said, even all was McGrath's penalty miss what he needed. He seems to have gone up a few extra gears since. So Jamie McGrath, Colin, you mentioned him earlier on saying you wanted to see that level of impact from him more often. He'd obviously scored a couple of penalties and missed that one against Rangers. But he's since had an international call-up. He's got the same kind of carrot now for, like Ireland got the playoff place, didn't they? So he's got that same carrot as Bowie and Mulligan have got.
Yeah.
Well, do you think though that there's more to come from McGrath, or is he starting to peak now?
No, I think there must be more to come. It's only been a game or two. I think when I say more to come, it's that over an extended period of time, which I expect. Like, if you're not going to be motivated by going to the World Cup, if you're that close, if you're as close as certainly Bowie and he is, I think Mulligan's a wee bit further away from it. Like, you're never going to be motivated, are you?
No, I mean that's it.
I mean, it's months away. Like you've got 4 or 5 months to prove yourself, sort of thing. Like we should be expecting fireworks for day two for the next few months.
Dan said it was so funny how shite Celtic were them one. Don't lie, you enjoyed it. I think we'll beat them on Sunday though. I fucking was happy to see the ball hit the back of the net, given how the league table was looking. I have to fucking admit. So, not that I have any love for them, but the lesser of the two evils in that case. Ronnie said Bowie was good yesterday, scored the hardest chance he got. I think he's starting to find better positions now. Hopefully he can kick on. Dan said Hibs played like prime peak Brazil in patches. And Jason says, Ron, if Nicky can deliver like last season, Bowie will benefit. And again, John, that's probably like another kind of key point that J Star's making there, that if you've got Nicky Cannon putting those deliveries in and you've got Bowie doing more to kind of be in the goal scoring positions, then the likelihood of Bowie having a high scoring season increases, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think that is definitely a part of it. I'm trying to think about what I'm trying to say. Not just the goals that he scores, but also like when you take into account his contribution in his second goal. Like I could take. I mean, don't get me wrong. I could love a 20-goal season because that seems to be like the marker of what's been a good season. But if he has like say 10 goals, but also assists 10 others, it's not a bad season either. Because I think what you want probably, while it's really good to have a striker that scores a load of goals, I think there's also an argument to be made for goals to come from across the team, especially when you've got a midfield like ours. So you're not wholly reliant on one individual.
Yeah, we spoke about that before. You're right. Even in that season with Jack Ross, mind the three strikers got 50 odd between them, and nobody else got any. Like it was or 1 and 2 was your next ones, and then you go see if they didn't score or he's injured. Then like we've not got any goals in this team because it's all reliant on Nisbet, Boyle, and Doidge as it was, wasn't it?
So, but no, I think that the original point is true. Like deliveries and like good quality deliveries into the box, and a confident striker who isn't overthinking things and doesn't have that monkey of when am I going to get this next goal.
How far is this? Is this a mental shit? How far is Nicky Cadden away for the Scotland squad? And I tell you, right, I get it's only a few games he's played well in, but it's a chunk of last season as well. And I'm sure there was talk last season he maybe being near because he's left-footed, right? And left-footers get like promoted way above their years just because they've got a left foot, right? Because there's no many of them. And you think, well, how many people are ahead of him in the pecking order? You know, obviously they put McGinn out there, right? So McGinn's like streets ahead and that type, but then that's him out of position playing there. If fit him in, you get maybe Ferguson in, whereas you go bump McGinn into his actual position. But how many? You know, I don't think there can be that many people ahead of him. Just based on position.
Did we talk about it before though? Like, and I would love to see Nicky Cadden get an international call up, but I don't think he's got the pace for it. Like, I think he's got the good cross, but I think the other aspects of his game aren't enough to carry him at international level. Like, I think he can shine at Hibs and at club level. He's good enough, but I think if you take the upper level, he would get found out in other areas.
But bear in mind, like this is a Scotland squad that has like Ralston and that in it.
I mean, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point, Colin. Like, you do look at some of the other players that get called up and think, well, why not Nicky Cadden?
Can we
I'll change
some
my answer
graphics together?
On
That's a T-shirt. Why not Nicky Cadden?
Why not Nicky Cadden?
Like in a Scotland strip.
I know. The thing is, it's like I'm talking no left back, right? Because that's where we've got Tierney and Robertson.
Aye.
But that left midfield area or wide left sort of thing. Anyway, I might be talking absolutely ridiculous. If folk might be in the comments now going, "What the fuck is he talking about?" But I just think I've seen some shite in the Scotland squad, even though we're still qualifying.
Professor Football with a theory to be discussed,
to be explored.
Right, I'm going to get some comments off of the Twitter. So Alan Duncan said that was 2 going on 6. We should have destroyed that Dundee team today. Easily the worst team we played this season and my favourite for the drop. John, did you see anything from Dundee that makes you think that they will be a top flight team next season?
When I was at the game, Mark Skinner, who sits the other side of me for Leon, he was saying that he reckons it's going to be a fight between Dundee, Livy or Kilmarnock for the drop. And I went with this sort of pragmatic approach and said I'd rather see Livy because I just, even though they're 25 minutes down the road, like I just hate going there.
Kettlewell's
see
on one of
anything?
the runs again at Kilmarnock. Like
he does
Kettlewell does this. He does like 10 losses in a row. Still done it at Motherwell as well.
Start picking up points. I thought Dundee were better than they were when we played them at the start of the season. I don't think they were terrible. I think it's maybe doing them a wee bit of a disservice to say that we should have beat them 6-0, like maybe on the quality of chances that we created. But they also had like Salingers had these 3 saves. Like they weren't that far away from scoring. So I think as much as I've got no love for Presley, I think he might surprise a few of us with his Dundee side.
All right. Okay. Colin, what about you? Do you see if Dundee enough there to keep them up?
Well, they've beat Celtic, right? I think they've got no bad result at Ibrox. I think they've got something that they might be able to in it. Them and Livy, I reckon, will be, and maybe Kilmarnock. Depends how long that run goes on, but I think it'll be between them. And so, but the 2 games we've played them, they've been pretty hopeless. Like
it's really weird that last 10 minutes or 15 minutes of the game, however long it was, that Dundee could have got the 2 goals if it wasn't for Salinger. It would have totally like flattered Dundee if they'd got anything for that game. Like it was mental. We were so comfortable with it, and then you have like those couple of moments that we could easily be 2-2 by the end of that game, and everybody would go fucking rage about it.
generally, though, like there's always a spell. Like you've got to defend in a spell, and now we've got guys like Hanley and Rocky that will chuck their cell in front of stuff, and we've got a goalie that can pull out big saves, and that's why they're there. Like you know, that's what we need them to do. And I think it's been too often over the last few years we've went, how come every time somebody fucking shoots to score against us? And that's not criticising the keeper. That's like, why is a defender not throwing themselves in front of it? Why is no somebody blocking the cross? But now we've got players that are, and it's the same last season from December onwards, isn't it? Players that are willing to chuck themselves in. And Rocky had done it last year, and Hanley and Rocky are doing it this year.
Stuart Anderson said, I know it's a squad game, but I felt we could have let them back in the game as we were out of sorts with the changes. So the changes, like we never had the usual 60-minute subs. John Gray kind of held on to the shape of the personnel a bit longer in the 70th minute. You're captain of the champion of the underdogs, John. Sometimes the 60-minute substitutions get a bit of criticism. Is criticism for the 60-minute substitutions justified?
No.
No. Okay. And on the game on Saturday, the 70-minute substitutions, then Colin, they did disrupt the flow of the game.
Aye.
Why do you think that was? Because they looked like for like subs. It wasn't like there was anything radical happened there. What would you put that down to?
Was it a beat for Cadden and Clegy for Boyle, wasn't it? 71 minutes. Well, I suppose a beat is more of isn't he that as an attacking player as Cadden? So it's maybe he wasn't as far forward for Barlaser to pick him out. Sometimes it just disrupts the momentum, though. It just does. Like how many times, when you go to the pre-season games, the game's won, right? The game felt like it was won. The game's won, and in the pre-season you bring on like fucking 8 subs,
a new team,
and the game just like totally drifts away. So I don't know. Obviously, the guys want to come on and impress because they're wanting to beat us, thinking, "How the fuck am I out of this team?" I get myself back in, and I think sometimes you're almost trying too hard because you've got 20 minutes. I need to do something in the 20 minutes, and you're like, "No, just play your own game."
It's funny you say that.
Done anything like obviously, unless John spotted one. I don't know, but I don't think they've done anything obviously wrong. I've been saying that to my daughter recently. Didn't he come on and go fucking mental because you need to do what you're good at all the time, and didn't try the wonder ball or shoot for somewhere because that's not what you got you there in the first place. Like you need to.
Aye.
But I think when you've only got 20 minutes, it must be tough, like to try and how do I get in this team?
I think there was definitely one point, and I think they were either side. So Jack Iredale, I think, has turned and tried to play a pass. I think he's been caught in possession. And then there's been another one where we've tried to get the ball forward quickly. I think it's maybe been intercepted. It's just basically come straight back our way. And Jordan Abita's standing after the attack breaks down saying, calm the fuck down. So I don't know if that maybe builds into what you're saying, Colin, about that 20 minutes to try and press. Whereas I think the reality is like the players have obviously got their own motivations and desires, but for the supporter, for the club, for the team, like you just want to come in, like keep doing the same job that the guy that you replaced was doing. See it out.
Mixu99 said, 1, thought our passing was very slick in midfield, very effective. 2, early second half looked like a 3-4-0 game. 3, delighted Bowie got his goal as the second miss was a howler, and now a massive incentive for him to perform with the World Cup round the corner. WC round the corner is put. I'm guessing it's World Cup and not toilet he's referring to. And 4, we have a very decent keeper. Neil Waters dominated the midfield with good quick forward passing. All 3 were excellent. Should have been more comfortable again, passing up good chances. Great for Bowie to get his goal, and we'll now hopefully get a few more. Salinger there when we needed him. All round good day. Jamie said solid performance, but we don't go for the jugular, especially after we scored. Dundee were there to be taken to the cleaners. Tom Wallace said Hibs were well worth the 3 points, although if not for 2 magnificent saves from Salinger, Dundee might have stolen a draw. No off days for anyone, but Iredale did everything well. Kieran said Barlas are man of the match again, absolutely tremendous, ran the game, and you noticed it when he came off. Salinger probably made the save of the season. Great keeper, no passengers today. Now go and beat Motherwell. Chris said keeper outstanding, defenders comfortable, midfield always on the front foot, forwards constant menace. Player of the match Dan Barlas, brilliant vision and touches, needs to be signed. International players looked hungry. Baz said comfortable and should have scored more, but also thankful to Big Salinger and the goals for 2 amazing saves. This it's been a theme this season as being on top and no scoring the goals for the chances that we create. Colin, you mentioned 2-0. You take it though, because clean sheet 2-0 is a comfortable win in the end. Do we have it in us, do you think, at some point to just be a team that's constantly taking 3 or 4 off other teams?
I think we've got the players that could do that. We're creating enough chances for it. I think but I don't think it'll happen every week. I think it'll happen in patches. We took 4 off Libby the other week. We took 3 to St Mirren. We're taking 2 this week. Hopefully we can go to Motherwell, get a couple again. But then we might get a wee run. When we play Libby, Dundee, and that, we can maybe go through a wee run of 3s and 4s. But I don't think it's going to be every week. But if we keep creating them, what's important is we keep creating as many chances as we create, because then that gives us the chance to do that.
And that goes back to what I was saying about the XG table. And again, XG is it's one of these things either turns folk off or turns them on.
It's just chances created. Just call it that, and then folk didn't care you're talking about XG.
On the chances created and the chances given away table, we're top. So we're doing the right thing. We're creating more than we're giving away, and we're creating more than other teams are creating and giving away fewer than other teams are creating. So it bodes well for us. There's an interesting point out. So Rob Morris has said honking decisions all over the SPL this weekend again. Are referees scared of fans? If so, should we introduce big masks like the Masked Singer to preserve the refs' anonymity?
Imagine everybody, imagine Ibrox giving it, take it off.
Well,
take it off 50,000 folk.
I've never watched the Masked Singer, but I get the premise. So obviously you couldn't do like big comedy masks and that, but how different do you think the referee?
Just get them all wearing Wally Collar masks, every one of them.
All of them. How different do you think it would be if referees were able to referee a game with complete anonymity, so that they weren't? Do you think we would see a difference?
I wonder. What do you think about soundproof headphones? Like the soundproof. What do you call them? The ones that they can't
noise cancelling.
Do you think that would make a difference? Probably no, because they still know where they are. I don't know. I mean, I've spoke before. I think there's just like I don't think they're right. I think they're not very good. Some of them. I don't think they're consistent. And even when you listen to the refs podcast and that, they're not consistent. Like with it, it's like you go, that's not what you said the other week. You know what I mean? And I think the rules don't help, right? Because I think there's too many subjective things.
Yeah.
I think we as fans, I don't understand all the rules. I don't think anybody does.
Nope.
But I think there's definitely like a unconscious bias in there, right? I think I've mentioned it before, where the flag seems to go up against us when it's a marginal. Whereas against us, it seems to stay down, and they then run VAR fixing it for us. Loads of times. Obviously, that's not every time. I'm not saying it's every one, but there's so many occasions that when the VAR's getting involved for us to fix an offside, it's because it's been given wrongly at the time, rather than they're always given. You know what I mean? Like it's because the flags went up.
Aye. The decision against us, whichever way it is. Aye.
And I'm sure there's other teams feel like that as well, like St Mirren, I'm sure feel like that. But I don't know. I think they're not very good. I think they're inconsistent. I don't think the rules help. I don't think they help themselves. I think there's a bit of unconscious bias in there, to summarise.
Okay.
It's like 1 out of 15.
Hi. Motherwell on Tuesday, right? Just conscious of the time, right? We'll look ahead to Motherwell on Tuesday. John, how do you see this one going?
I'm really optimistic about it because it's got, I think it's got the hallmarks of a game where if the result goes our way, it sets us up nicely for the Celtic game on the Sunday. And I think to coin the phrase that Colin started the other week there about being title challengers, that puts pressure on at the top. Like I've been a wee bit pragmatic about Celtic, and I was looking for Celtic to get that late goal against St Mirren. I was looking for Aberdeen to hold on the day. But actually, if it's not going to be Celtic that's going to win the league, why not us?
Mm-hmm.
By the way, 9 points now, right? We win on Tuesday. We're the only team playing Tuesday. Well, Motherwell's playing, but the only game on Tuesday.
Yeah.
6 points off the top if we win. We're a game against
Aye.
our direct challengers.
Pressure. It's just all we can do from our position is win our games, put the pressure on, and like obviously after today's result, they're not invincible, so they start looking over their shoulders.
Colin, how are you feeling for it on Tuesday?
I'm quite looking forward to it. I've not seen Motherwell. I've heard a lot of good things about them, but obviously the results haven't they probably truly reflected the media they've been getting about it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a wee bit like when Mowbray was with us, I think. Like we dropped a lot of points and through results away that we had in the bag, like they did at Tynecastle. We done that at home to Dundee. Remember 4-4 when we were 4-1 up under Mowbray. So I think he's bringing that excitement, and that's why there's that hype around it. But we're a good team. Like we've got a good 11 and we've got a good bench now. So like why would we know? I think it's been a happy hunting ground over the years. Certainly the last 15, 20 years anyway.
I think it's they're 7th in the form table for the last 6, which
they're inconsistent though, aren't they? They've got some good results and some real shit results. It's not like narrow. It's not like us going fucking that was that stupid penalty we gave away or that OG or that dodgy decision. This is like them winning and getting hammered. Inconsistent.
I think for when I've seen them, they look suspect at the back. Like I think they're definitely there to be got at. And I think where the letdown going forward is they maybe just didn't have that real quality at the top end of the pitch to finish some of the chances that they're creating. But they're there or thereabouts. I think they're a dangerous team. I think this is one of these games that we kind of go in complacent, thinking we just need to turn up and win. I think we need to be switched on and at it. But I think if we play like we did on Saturday, and if we play like we did against St Mirren for the good parts against St Mirren anyway, then there's no reason why we can't go win. I think what this team is good at, when we're talking about Hibs here, is finding where the weaknesses are. The other team, John, you mentioned it about that sort of trying the different keys and like the different ways to break a team down. I think we're quite good at spotting right. Do we kind of need to go long and get in behind them? Do we play the ball out wide and put the crosses in, or do we try and pass through them? I think we're quite good at sort of trying to find exploiting what the other team isn't good at. And I think the way that Motherwell play, they leave themselves open, and we've got the pace at the top end of the pitch to trouble them. So I'm going to predict a 3-2 win to Hibs. I think it'll be both teams to score. John, what's your score prediction?
Well, I'm do the same that I did for the Dundee game. Like I think we're both similar in terms of goals scored and goals against. So if not 3-2, like I think it's going to be close. I'll say 1-0 Hibs.
1-0 Hibs. Colin?
2-1 Hibs.
2-1 Hibs, right. Well, I think it's an important 3 points if we can get them. But again, I think it's one of these ones that if we do get the 3 points, and the feel-good factor around the club is definitely starting to build again, and you can almost sense us starting to put together a wee bit of run like we did last season as well. And then, they have that bit more importance falls on Sunday's game against Celtic. Right, we'll call it a night there. We will be back for subscribers tomorrow with extra time. If you want to subscribe, you can join on YouTube. There's a wee join button. You can sign up there, or you can go to Patreon. You can try it free for a week before you.
There's an offer kicking about there now as well. Actually, I seen an email offer.
Did you?
I think 50% off your first month or something, or 70%, maybe both. I got both emails, maybe.
Did you? Lucky you.
120% off. We'll give you money
120%
to
off.
sign up.
So yeah, go check out. Obviously, the more people subscribe, the more we can do stuff like this. Also, if you're stuck for Christmas ideas, go and have a look at our Redbubble store. There's loads of cool Hibs merchandise there as well. Unofficial, of course, or official Longbangers merchandise, depending how you look at it. So check that out. Extra time, and then we'll have the phone in on Wednesday as well, which we'll cover the Motherwell game. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all your comments, and we'll see you all next time.